Surprise! Conference this week is in a beautiful home in San Clemente, California. We had a little problem with our microphone again, so we're retaping it, and we decided to surprise you with a whole nother venue for you to look at while you're listening to the teachings this week. We're studying Man's Search for Meaning, and we are now moving into the very first part of the chapter. And I'm going to begin this conference by reading you the very powerful quote that we're using for this week by Victor. And I'm sure you've heard this one before today. When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. And this week, the readings have been very heavy. And I know for myself, when I've been doing the readings, and this is probably the third or fourth time I've read the book, I've just been almost using it as a meditation and sitting quietly and reading a small piece and then sitting with it for a while. And one of the things that I've found in reading that way is that I feel like I'm processing it through my own filter of what was happening in 1949, but also how it applies to just how I'm feeling about life and what happens to all of us here in 2018 in our daily lives. And reading this week about how each one of the prisoners had to adapt to survive that first phase of the concentration camp. And one of the most powerful pieces for me to read was when Viktor Frankl said that initially when he got there, he saw that a lot of men were taking their lives. And the way they said that to each other was they were running into the electric wire to take their lives. And so all of them in the prison started referring to that as running into the wire. And so he'd said that early on he just made a commitment to himself, and he said, I'm not going to run into the wire. And that really stuck with me, to make that kind of a strong commitment to yourself, knowing you were moving into one of the most difficult human chances or human situations, to just make that commitment and say, I'm going to stay strong in this no matter what. And then as he described sort of that first phase and just all of the things that these people never thought that they could possibly survive, sort of adapting to that. And just as he described little things like not being able to brush their teeth, or not being able to take a shower because the pipes had frozen, or not having soap, or not being able to clean their wounds. I just found throughout the week just small things really sitting with me, like just oddly enough being in the bathroom and washing my hands like I do a million times during the day, but all of a sudden feeling like what a privilege that was and what it would be like not to be able to wash my hands. Or sleeping at night, and they described sleeping on these small planks next to each other in the cold, and how some of them used to be light sleepers and they couldn't have slept through noise or someone snoring, and because they were so incredibly exhausted and tired, how they could sleep next to someone snoring throughout the night. All these things that they wound up adapting to. Really just, again, this whole week I've just been sitting with what that means to me, and it showing up in different ways throughout my days. And one of the things that I was thinking about as a yoga teacher and practitioner is that we do this practice in order to go inward, and that everything we do, including reading this very heavy book right now, is about really digging deep into an internal well that all of us have, that sometimes we're just not accessing or not digging deep enough into it. And so my thought on this was that I was thinking of like life above like the ground surface or whatever. It's like daily life, you know, I'm driving my car, I'm putting gas in my car, I'm paying my rent, I'm talking to my neighbors, I'm trying to make my business work, or all the things that all of us need to do as grihastas, as in the Hindu tradition would say, as householders. We're keeping our families going, we're paying our mortgage, our rents, and getting food on the table, and all the things we do to keep a community, a family running. But the well, this deep well, is like this place that we can go to, which is meditation and svadhyaya and self-study and self-reflection. That's this well within each of us. And I think the more that we quiet ourselves and go into that deep place, we can dive deep into this and create what I call these pillars that can come from a deep well that support everything above ground. So everything above ground is life is busy, life is good, life is hard, all these things that happen to us throughout the day. And I think if we don't have a deep well, I think if we don't have strong pillars that come from our spiritual life, our emotional life, our emotional stability through that, I think that all of this can crumble. You know, all of this can be like good, bad, and some days it seems like it's never going to get better or whatever. So there's this beautiful depth, I think, that we find from this life of being on a path of self-study and in yoga we say self-realization. And what we're reading right now, I'm asking you to read a very hard book, but that it asks us to go deep into the well for each of us to find that strength. Thinking about parents too, like we can never provide the perfect life for our children, that they will avoid problems in life. We can guarantee our children and all of us that we will have problems in our life, but if we have a strong rooting system, a strong well, then we can deal with whatever we're faced with. And Viktor Frankl's message to us is so strong and powerful. I feel like the word that I pulled out of this whole week was adaptation, that we all have the ability from our own well to find the strength to adapt and to change and to be our best self in the situations that arise in our life. So I'm going to ask all of you for your homework this week, just to join me in just looking through your life and just taking opportunities to have some perspective and to practice being grateful, and to maybe just look at where you have been able to in the past adapt to things you never thought you would be able to, or things you couldn't change, and so you wound up realizing that you really did have to change yourself, and knowing that that is your history and that is what we have now to sink into and to use as a beautiful source for us moving forward, to know that that we have that is always available to us. And so I'll finish by reading the quote one more time. When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. Namaste.